In June 2021, residents of Tok, Alaska, were surprised to spot a young grizzly bear wandering outside a suburban area. Normally, his mother would have been close by, but this time the little cub was all alone. Concerned locals reached out to the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, not wanting an orphaned bear roaming their streets. They couldn't leave Jebby to fend for himself, so they intervened and picked him up. Before his departure, they gave him the name Jebby. Given his young age, there were worries about Jebby's survival. Typically, bears stay with their mothers for about 3 years after birth before becoming independent. Jebby was much younger, raising concerns about his ability to survive in the wild. To ensure Jebby's best chance at survival, they decided to transport him to the Alaska Zoo in Anchorage. Here, he received a thorough medical examination and was cared for by zoo staff until his next move. Eventually, Jebby bid farewell to Alaska and journeyed to the Detroit Zoo. It was a whirlwind experience for the young cub. Upon arrival at the zoo, Jebby weighed around 76 pounds and underwent a period of quarantine to ensure his health. During his time there, Jebby underwent another medical examination by veterinarians from the Detroit Zoological Society. One can only imagine what the young bear made of all the care and attention he received. Once the checkup was completed, Jebby was released into the Arctic Ring of Life exhibit, but he wasn't alone. Enter Lurk. She was already a resident of the Arctic Ring of Life when Jebby arrived. Like the grizzly bear, Lurk was also trying to overcome a difficult period in her life. Get ready for a heartwarming story, as you might need some tissues. Lurk was born in November 2020 at the Detroit Zoo, unlike Jebby, who was found orphaned in the wild. Her mother, Suka, gave birth to another female cub, Astra, on the same day. This event was a significant milestone for the zoo in Michigan. Why was this such a big deal? Well, according to a press release from the zoo, the cubs are the first polar bears to be born and successfully raised at the Detroit Zoo since 2004. That's quite a long time between polar bear births at the zoo. It wasn't for lack of effort, though. Suka had given birth in both 2018 and 2019, but sadly, all the cubs passed away shortly after birth. The press release from January 2021 also highlighted that these births were part of the Association of Zoos and Aquariums Polar Bear Species Survival Plan, a program focused on cooperative population management and conservation. At that time, there were 56 polar bears in AZA-accredited zoos and aquariums, making Lurk and Astra's arrival particularly significant. However, just a few days after their births, the zoo faced a moment of crisis. One of Suka's cubs, Lurk, showed signs of serious health decline. She became very still in the family's temporary shelter, indicating a significant loss of strength. Thanks to discreetly placed cameras, zoo staff were able to detect these signs and knew immediate action was necessary. To ensure Lurk's safety, workers quickly removed Suka from the shelter, giving them the opportunity to retrieve Lurk without incident. Once in their care, Lurk was transported to the Detroit Zoo's Ruth Roby Glancy Animal Health Complex for a thorough examination and received around-the-clock care. The situation must have been tense, but the swift action taken by the zoo staff saved Lurk's life. During this period, Lurk was exceptionally small, weighing just over a pound. She spent the following weeks in incubation, separated from her mother and sister. It was a different type of isolation compared to Jebby's experience in Alaska, but it was necessary for her well-being, and her subsequent progress showed its effectiveness. By January 2021, Lurk had reached a weight of a little over 11 pounds. Her time in the incubator had ended, and she moved into a sort of playpen. However, she still had some milestones to achieve before returning to the Arctic Ring of Life. Meanwhile, as Lurk continued her recovery, her sister Astra received lavish attention from their mother inside the zoo. Suka rarely let Astra out of her sight, keeping her close throughout the day. It was a bittersweet situation for Lurk, who missed out on crucial bonding time. The zoo's acknowledgement of this unique circumstance highlighted the learning opportunity presented by raising twin polar bears separately, one by the mother and one by humans. Both cubs were closely monitored, and their developmental milestones were tracked. When Lurk was finally released back into the exhibit after receiving a clean bill of health, it was a moment of relief for her. However, her time away had created doubts about whether she could reconnect with her family. It was a heartbreaking situation. By the time Lurk and Jebby crossed paths at the zoo, both were familiar with feelings of loneliness. They had grown up in different worlds, so the question remained, would they bond? Could their contrasting backgrounds lead to conflicts? It was time to find out. When Jebby first entered the exhibit in July 2021, zookeepers initially kept him separate from Lurk. They planned to stagger their eventual meeting, hoping that this approach would increase their chances of forming a bond. It was a thoughtful strategy. As the bears had been accustomed to solitude, it was uncertain how they would react to each other. Would they reject socialization altogether? The zoo staff faced a delicate and challenging task in managing this situation. Despite the uncertainty, the zookeepers slowly introduced Jebby and Lurk to each other over the summer. As they became more familiar, it was a relief to see that they did not show aggression. However, the real question remained, would their relationship progress beyond mere acquaintance? In September 2021, after 2 months in the exhibit, it became clear that Jebby and Lurk had become the best of friends. This was a heartwarming outcome, considering their backgrounds. Observers often saw them playing and wrestling in the Arctic ring of life, clearly enjoying each other's company. The bond between Lurk and Jebby deepened, and they were inseparable. They spent their days swimming, sharing toys, and engaging in various activities together. This friendship was a beautiful sight to behold. The Detroit Zoological Society, responsible for overseeing the zoo, must have been relieved to see the bears' friendship blossom. After all, it was their decision to introduce another bear into Lurk's life. In a press release in September 2021, the Chief Life Sciences Officer spoke about this decision. Scott Carter stated, "There are no other polar bear cubs who we can bring here to live with Lurk, so we reached out to state agencies that frequently must find homes for orphaned grizzly bear cubs. We're thrilled that we are able to give Jebby sanctuary and provide a much-needed companion for Lurk." Carter emphasized the significance of this social development for both Lurk and Jebby, highlighting the positive impact of their friendship. This outcome was undoubtedly a win for all involved. Sad circumstances brought Jebby and Lurk together, but you've done wonderful work doing the best for them. I hope they will have very happy lives in Detroit, although not the ones nature would have prescribed. And the kind words kept coming. This is beyond precious. Thank you so very much to the people involved in making this happen from day one. I'm not sure, but I'm hoping that we'll be able to watch them grow to adulthood together. It'd be too bad if eventually they'd be separated, and wildlife is the greatest joy. These sentiments were echoed by many, highlighting the public's appreciation for the zoo's efforts in ensuring the bears' well-being and happiness. As for Jebby and Lurk's future, Detroit Zoo confirmed on September 23, 2021, that visitors could now see the duo at the exhibit. The facility had no plans to separate them as they grow older. Regarding the possibility of Lurk reuniting with her mother and sister, Carter explained in the zoo's press release that it was unlikely to happen. The bears are expected to remain together at the zoo, continuing to delight visitors with their bond and friendship. Carter explained, "Suka is a great mother and very protective of Lurk's sister, Astra. But it's clear that she no longer recognizes Lurk as her cub. Returning Lurk to her mother and sister is not an option for us." The zoo stated, "We hoped we would be able to reunite Lurk with her mother Suka and sister Astra. But even from a distance, it became very clear that Suka didn't recognize Lurk. After seeing the way Suka continuously responded to Lurk, it wasn't safe to put them together. It's a heartbreaking development, as a future reunion would have been a perfect. However, Lurk has found a new brother in Jebby, filling the void left by Suka and Astra's absence. The coming years in their section of the Arctic Ring of Life promise to be fascinating as their bond continues to grow.